Please take a second to subscribe, then like and share afterwards. We can really use your support. Thank you. In our previous episode, we reached the modern times in Palestine and the beginnings of the Hamas leadership at the end of 1987. But it is important that we make one crucial connection before we move forward. In our Prophecies Uncovered series, we closely examined the 50-year Jubilee markers as prophesied in Leviticus 25, that these Jubilees would eventually lead to Israel's return to their homeland and ultimately a return to their real home, a return to God through Messiah. It is crucial that you watch the first 6 episodes of that series to fully understand the entire work of God spanning over millennia. Now, as we have seen, the enemy wars against the return and restoration of Israel, so he would war against Israel's sacred vessel of return and restoration, the Jubilee. He would therefore seek its destruction. How then would he desecrate it? He would invert it. He would also give Israel a Jubilee of destruction. But when would that be? The enemy would follow the same 50-year template and ordinance, only this time for calamity, and he would set it to begin on a day of destruction. Israel's most demoralizing war from the time of their return in 1948 was far worse than the Six-Day War. It was the Yom Kippur War. We first spoke about this war in our Prophecy Fragment episode, Mystery of Hamas and Israel. Now, YouTube removed this episode from my channel, but you can access it on another platform. Link found in the description below. The Yom Kippur War was so demoralizing that it would shake Israel's confidence for years to come, and actually caused Prime Minister Golda Meir to consider suicide and later resign from office. It began with a mass invasion of Egyptian forces from the Sinai and Syrian forces from the Golan Heights. Israel was caught by surprise and overwhelmed by the massive numbers involved. In the end, Israel would suffer 3 times more fatalities per capita in that one war than Americans has suffered in over 10 years in the war in Vietnam. Yet Israel would ultimately survive the onslaught despite being outnumbered 10-1 on all fronts. And by the hand of God, it would be turned around to a point of victory. This would be the closest that the dragon had come in modern times to destroying the state of Israel. And so it was this event that he would begin his Jubilean countdown, leading to a Jubilee of darkness and destruction. From the fall of 1973, if we could count 50 years forward, it brings us to the year 2023. A Devil's Jubilee year, measuring from an invasion of Israel. Thus, we would expect another invasion on the Jubilee. So, rather than a return home and return to their possession and inheritance, the enemy's Jubilee of destruction would be reversed. The people would be uprooted from their homes, taken away from their possessions, and separated from their inheritance. In God's Jubilee, the enslaved would be set free, but in the enemy's Jubilee, the free would be enslaved, taken away as captives. Like at the Yom Kippur War, the Israeli government did not take any signs or warnings seriously. Like in 73, the October 7th invasions began as a massive ground invasion, and similarly, this war saw the enemy move in rapid speed and massive numbers to invade, firing large numbers of rockets followed by a deadly onslaught of armed invaders crossing the border. The timing too was prophetic. The Yom Kippur War was launched on the Sabbath, with the enemy knowing it was a day of rest, a massive strategic advantage. 50 years later, on the Jubilee, the enemy would invade on the Sabbath, a day of rest. For the Yom Kippur War, it wasn't only a Sabbath, but it also fell on a Hebrew holy day, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. In 2023, it not only was a Sabbath, but also a Hebrew holy day, Shemini Atzeret and Simchat Torah. But the mystery would go further. We can also prophetically pinpoint the very day that this invasion would take place, not just to the year. Yom Kippur 1973 was in October, one of the Moedim, the appointed time of God, given in Leviticus 23. Thus, in October 2023, it would have to fall on one of the 4 Sabbaths of that month. And there was one sacred Moedim given in Leviticus 23. That day was October 7th, 2023. The Yom Kippur War was a direct response to the Six-Day War, which the Arabs lost embarrassingly only 6 years earlier. It was a strike back at the attempt to undo Israel's victory in 1967. For more on the Jubilean significance of that war, please watch this Prophecies Uncovered episode. Now, take a look at this. God's prophetic purposes are fulfilled without the enemies knowing anything about it, and it is incredibly significant prophetically. The number of days between the beginning of the Six-Day War, June 5, 1967, to the beginning of the Yom Kippur War on October 6, 1973, were precisely 2,315 days. Then, as we covered at length in Prophecies Uncovered, the 50-year Jubilee from the Six-Day War in 67 brings us to 2017, and the very day, June 5th, that the United States Senate passed the resolution recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So, we would expect something significant 2,315 days after this resolution. If we count forward 2315 days from June 5th, 2017, it brings us, shockingly, to October 7th, 2023. Now, if you recall back in episode 4, we spoke about Revelation 12, how the dragon waited to devour the woman's child, the Messiah. What we didn't see was how it ended. As we know, the dragon failed. Following this, he wages war against the woman who gave birth to the child. The woman is given the wings of an eagle to escape. The dragon then sends a flood against the woman, whom we identified as Israel in that episode. The earth swallows the flood. The dragon then burns with rage against the woman and makes war against her other children. So we see the dragon tries to destroy the woman, or Israel, but ultimately fails. We see this countlessly through the ages, that the enemy fails repeatedly to completely destroy Israel, but fails. In our modern times, these failures manifested as the Six-Day War, the Yom Kippur War, and all the countless attacks leading all the way up to October 7th. Up next, we take one more look at the prophecy in Revelation 12, this time at verse 15, as it foretells of a flood directly from the mouth of the dragon, this flood to destroy the woman, Israel, which will play out on October 7th in the most prophetic manifestation you never expected. Here on Secrecies Uncovered.